Wow. This is great. And every week it's the same thing from us as we do these intros, because we are so fortunate to be moped outlaws riding these rides. But I got to hand it to you, Greg, for you to step into the possibility of, well, I'll just reach out to them and then have this level of talent say yes. We have been blessed, and the listeners will be blessed for sure, meeting Alice Fraser. And then we encourage you to follow all of the different links in the show notes and wherever you're seeing this, because you are about to have a really short experience of a person who is so deep and so profoundly talented that you have just scratched the surface. And I know Greg and I have just scratched the surface. We're going to go looking for more of their output. Amazing ride. And thank you so much for coming up with this guest.
My pleasure. So I'd say let's just get to it.
Sis, hallo?
11.
Bestuur zeker wegen them.
Yo iets niet, joh.
Two outlaws on the lam, taking the back roads through America.
You can't drink enough coffee for this show.
And now it's time for Monday Madness with the Moped Outlaws, Greg and Marc.
And we're live with another ride with Moped Outlaws. And here we have a very special guest from about as far away from where Marc and I as one could possibly get without leaving the planet. Alice Fraser. Did I say it right? Fraser. And I feel a little bit, because Marc called me and said, dude, where are you? And I feel a little bit like I got thrown on a stage and I was expecting a space video to happen between me and the trauma survivor that was on the TED Talk. And that was one of the things, Alice, in the awkward intro, but when I saw your stand-up that was on Amazon Prime, and then you were talking about the TED Talk you did, and you were following the woman who survived a severe burn trauma, and you were expecting a space video to help kind of cushion from her experience to your comedic take on life, and it didn't happen. And I'm hearing this, and so I went to TED Talk and thought, did that really happen? And sure enough, I see you on the stage with sort of a fuck going on internally. And that really attracted me to who you are as an individual. Like, here's someone who is definitely riding the white water of life with a let's go for it attitude. And
yeah. So that's his way of saying welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I often say no one will ever accuse me of having lived half a life. I talk with my friend Laura Davis, who's an excellent comedian, about the ways in which you can stop living long before you die. You know, they had a show called Ghost Machine where they were dressed as a ghost for the first half, and then they take the sheet off and go through the audience saying, why don't you kill yourself? But no, like, why don't you? Like, what keeps you going? It's a great show. Very confronting, but excellent and very funny. But the way, you know, and it's not just, you know, walking out a window or into the ocean. It's, you know, what stops you from sitting on the couch and watching reruns of Everyone Loves Raymond for the next 40 years?
Right. And so what do you, is there a kernel or a seed of experience that came up for you where you thought, I'm going to live this life fully?
My grandmother was a Holocaust survivor. My mom had MS. She was diagnosed in her mid-20s, and that was in a lot of ways the end of many of her ambitions and dreams. And not that she didn't do many great things and was a wonderful mother and everything, but, you know, she was an incredible musician, and that path for her was cut off. So I think I just never, and this has a very big downside as well, I just sort of never believed in the future. It makes it very hard to plan more than 6 months ahead. But I just have never taken for granted that I will be here in 5 years. Or, again, that my brain will be working or that my body will be working or that I will have the capacity or the resources that I do right now. And it gives me a sense of urgency about what I do. I think in another life, it could be expressed as anxiety, but for whatever reason, for me, it's not anxiety. It's sort of a sense of urgency that I need to get this done.
And if you don't mind my asking, because I know you're a mother of 2 children, I believe, how does that rest in being a mother? Which, as a parent myself, there's an element of holding the future for these individuals.
Yeah, it makes me, in some ways, a very good mother, and in other ways, not such a good mother. I am not good at at the moment. People are like, where are you going to send him to school? And I'm like, I can't. Or do we? How do you? That's a thing where some people are signing up their kids to school from the day that they're born, and they're planning out this and they'll go to this school, and then they'll go to this university, and I find that really difficult to do, genuinely difficult. And I think I'm probably going to hire someone to sit down with me for an hour and help me think it through, because my brain sort of shies away from that kind of thinking. On the other hand, it means I'm very present and I'm teaching them skills now. And I'm not blind to the present by thinking about the future, I think.
It's such
I don't have huge expectations of them.
It's such a Buddhist concept of being in the now, right? It's clear that's where you come from. And for myself and for Greg, having our touchstone with you is a 5-year-old amazing stand-up performance that you did. But then as I began to research more and more, and I'm finding out more about what you're doing right now, this pattern emerges, which is where you took this really intense life experience, you condensed it into a beautiful artistic piece that resonates with such rich human character of optimism and hilarity and tragedy and musicality, and the grace that you personified was truly inspiring. So anyone who hasn't seen that, definitely go to Amazon Prime and check it out. But now I see the author emerging, and I'm wondering, how does it feel to have published this book, Passion? And do you see yourself doing more books?
Yes, I really do see myself. So A Passion for Passion is my book. It's a very silly book. And that was kind of the key to me to becoming an author, because I've always been a good writer, since I could write. I was never a good comedian, and I worked really hard to become a good comedian. And so I have no imposter syndrome. I have no sort of, that sometimes they say telling children that they're gifted and talented can be the worst thing you do, to give them an idea, because if you tell them that they're doing well because they're smart, it's a thing over which they have no control. And so it frightens them away. And so this idea that I should be writing something great really hamstrung me until my 30s from even trying to write anything. And the only reason I managed to write this was because the idea was so fucking dumb that I was like, I must bring this stupid thing into the world. And it got me out of my own way. And so thank you for the compliment about the comedy and the work that I do in comedy. I'm very proud of the work that I do in comedy, and I don't think I have an overblown or an underblown idea of my skills there, because I was so bad when I started and I worked so hard to get decent. But I never, the logistics of having children is incompatible with a gigging lifestyle, on the road lifestyle, unless I was doing significantly better and could bring my whole family on the road all the time, which again, you're like, oh, is that fair on the children? Or was willing to leave them at home and be away 3-4 nights of the week, which I'm not. That's not the kind of parenting that I want to do. I understand that you are in America, where it's like 2 minutes after they're born, you like chuck them in a daycare.
Some do.
Some do. So, no,
Well, and look
no
at what that's
offense.
gotten us. That tells you a lot about why we're here, where we're at.
No offense to the securely attached people of America,
Oh dear.
but I am very far on the other end of the spectrum. I'm, that classic kind of attachment parenting. So when I had my first child, I toured from when she was 4 months old through to when she was about 2. And then when she's 2, she starts making little friends and other people start to become more important. Until then, it's like it's just mummy is enough and, family. And after that, I was also pregnant with my son. And I thought, well, I can't tour with 2. Also, when they turn 2, you have to start paying for them on airplanes. So a number of logistics came into play there. Also, I never wanted to be a road dog into my 40s and 50s. Staying in a 3-star hotel 3 nights a week, 4 nights a week is not my idea of a good life long term. And so I was always going to make that transition away from club comedy and more into solo work. And then also writing sort of was part of that piece in my head. I was like, I'd like to go from being, without blowing my own horn, without the clever lady at the comedy festival to being the funny lady at the book festival. That's kind of the if I can be said to have a 5-year plan, it's that.
Okay.
Got it. I want to challenge that a little, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
There's such brilliance in the way that you mix drama and humor in the human condition that I actually see films as the next step for you. And I feel like we have not had what we need in the terms of the nutrient that we got from Monty Python, and that you could be the 21st century version of that caliber of writer and performer that brings whimsy and seriousness all in the same. So I would encourage you in your 6-year plan to perhaps go even further, because your talent is absolutely unequivocally of the caliber that would warrant the time and energy. And I know that might be a little
do tell
difficult
Hollywood
to receive that. Yeah. Well, better off independent filmmaking, perhaps in New Zealand. I hear there's a strong independent community there. But, could you see Passion for Passion being like a short film or?
Oh, yes. Yeah, definitely. Although I have a film script and a couple of television pilots that I have written. The problem is that I don't like the part of the work that is sending it out and getting it rejected. So I'll just be like, you want this? And if they say no, I'm like, I guess they don't want it, rather than the thing which you have to do, which is send it to 100 people. So again, maybe I need to just get an assistant or something who's going to do all that.
With all your extra money.
Yeah, all the extra money. That's the problem, right? You have to balance what's worth spending money on versus whether it will make you money or not.
Yeah.
Especially private schools.
Well, good. My experience with salespeople is they often are the ones walking away with the money, and the person who hired them is out the money and nothing really transpired.
Well, I mean, I just had that with this book. We sold an enormous number of copies of this book. And as we were doing it, the publisher said, oh, look, we're going to have a bit of trouble sort of getting you the money. We're having some troubles. And but, keep selling, because then and it turned out that they had stolen all the money and ran away. So I have given away many thousands of copies of this nice book.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a real kick in the teeth.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That's horrible. We hate hearing that. But there's a recurring theme here, which is your resilience.
Yeah.
Well, I think, in this instance, I don't think I need to be resilient, because it sort of feels like monopoly money anyway. It just, books are a gamble. I can imagine I sold 10 copies of the book and got no money, rather than knowing for a fact that I sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of books and got no money. That sort of doesn't feel important to me. the nice thing is that knowing that people have read the book and that I had this kind of incentive to write the book, and it broke the back of that story I had in my head that I couldn't write a book. So looking on the bright side of things. I mean, not that it wouldn't be nice to have hundreds of thousands of dollars. That would be very nice. But I don't feel it as a loss, really. The most annoying thing was that I heard another person who'd sold out their entire run of books, but that had been told that they had sold no copies. Wow. Which to me is way more offensive, because that's not just stealing somebody's money. Like, people steal money, money is whatever, but like stealing somebody's confidence.
Right.
That to me feels genuinely immoral in a way that, like, blowing the money, gambling, or whatever it was that they did doesn't. I don't know.
It seems like you have this intuitive gift of really looking at the spirit of things instead of the physicality of things. And again, from the routine that Marc and I saw, one of the bits I loved was with the paper towel dispenser and the automated faucet, and how you said there's a perpetual capitalist machine going on here.
Supplying the demand for the supply you're demanding.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
That's one of my favorite bits in that show too.
And just even in this, interaction that we have so briefly, you've really have this spirit outlook on life. And
oh yeah, man, I could start a cult like that. You have no idea.
There's good money in it, I hear. Then you'll have
money, but it may not be good money, right? That's the thing. It's, you don't want the karma that goes with that, clearly.
I did have a person, I'm gonna do non-identifyings, but I did have a person ask me to help them write a solo show who ended up in jail for running a cult.
Wow.
And then emailed me through their representative from jail being like, I'm still up for writing the show if you are.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
well,
I'm tempted, man. I'm tempted.
Yeah,
Is having children a bit like having your own in-house comedy show?
I mean, they are funny. Nobody told me. I thought you were going to say in-house cult, sort of. But nobody.
Mommy,
there's two things that really
Mommy.
surprised me. Yeah. Well, I mean, they're climbing you. They're trying to eat you. It's very symbolic. But yeah, they are so funny. Children are so funny. I when I was going to have kids, I was like seriously thinking about the responsibility of being a mother and the incredible, duty that it is to both to your children as people and to society as a whole to make good people. And if you're going to use the resources to make, they ought to be as good as you can. And nobody told me they are so fucking hilarious. I laugh so much every day because they learn things at a pace that is incomprehensible. They're tiny geniuses. All children are tiny geniuses dealing with a world that makes no sense. And you have to figure out the first principles to tell them the rule. Why am I not allowed to pick my nose at the table? And so you're like, okay, but why? And you go, okay, it's because people feel uncomfortable with the awareness that the inside of their body is made of disgusting squishy bits. So touching any of your holes in public is an affront because it reminds people that the membrane between them and the outer world is permeable, and they feel kind of disgusted and repelled. So no touching your holes in public.
And that's why we have salt and pepper shakers.
What? That didn't make any sense to you.
People who pick their nose and eat it know what I mean.
Okay. Are you saying that salt and pepper reenacts the taste of mucus?
Don't go with it.
Don't try to understand it, Greg.
With it.
Don't go with it. It was a failed attempt.
Leave it.
Just live with that.
Leave it where it is.
Let me lie in my own.
I'm glad to be the 2-year-old in this conversation. Leave it. Gosh darn it! I'm at a loss of conversation. That's very sad to me.
Yes, you're Your
you
countenance,
you're just absorbing the permeability of
I'm
holes.
just in shock to be in your presence. It was such a whim to reach out to you and think like that you would respond. And again, like Marc mentioned earlier, with the one person show, one of the things that comes up for me, because you said you don't want to tour and do that grind of like the stand-up comedy scene.
So what I'm doing now is solo shows. So
Yeah.
and not club gigs. So club gigs are where you travel like 3 hours to some arse end of nowhere and you do 20 minutes for people who are not there for you. You spend, and particularly in Australia, particularly with my accent, you spend the first 5 minutes like being like, it's okay. I'm like, you have to start below ground level to get them to trust you. And then you can do in 20 minutes, maybe one interesting thing, make one interesting point or take them on one interesting little arc. And I spent a lot of years sort of learning how to do comedy, and that was really worthwhile. And then for a while there, I was just trying to prove that I could do what the boys could do. And then after a while, you're like, well, proving that I can sleep in the bus stop till the night bus comes so that I don't, spend all the money I made on a hotel. I don't need to prove that anymore.
no.
Comedy very much is an industry that is built for young men with no responsibilities whose parents are paying for their petrol, gas, as you would say. So, yeah, that stopped feeling like a problem with me and started feeling like a problem with the industry.
Do you feel like it really is a boys' club?
Not by virtue of prejudice per se. When I started, that was certainly the case. There was only ever one woman on the bill, and I realized that when we started to get more than one woman on the bill, it was because they were worried that if there were more than one woman on the bill, we'd start talking about the rapists, and we did. But I think that kind of prejudice has moved a lot since I started, and it's not necessarily that people don't think women are funny. When I started, it was like really people would say that a lot. It's now material conditions, as with so many of these things, the kind of activism about emotion and language and, the way you introduce a woman on stage that makes her feel unwelcome, or the policy about harassment that might make people feel, all of these kind of top level things are sort of pretty set dressing over the material reality that if I am having to go to a gig that finishes at midnight, I have to get home and it's more dangerous for me. It's more expensive for me. I am, as a woman, I'm more likely to have care responsibilities towards other people. I can't just be like, well, fuck it, I'll sleep on the couch. I once went to a gig where the accommodation, they said it's free accommodation. What a treat. We drove there for 8 hours. I met these men. We shared a car. It was this lovely thing to meet these people for 8 hours. We got there, we did the gig, and then they showed us the accommodation, and it was bunk beds. And I was like, lovely men, I don't know you well enough to share a room with you. And do I make a fuss? Or do I just prove that I can be one of the boys? And I decided, what about the next time, the next person who comes along? So I said, hey, I'm not comfortable sharing a room with these men. And the producer was like, oh, well, I guess you can sleep on my couch. I'm like, I also don't know you. Like, you're also a strange man that I don't know. Like, no offense, but I also don't know you. And so he was like, well, I guess we can get you a hotel. And I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
and they should have known better. It should have been
conditions.
obvious to them. They should have known. It should have not had to have been that conversation. And it brings to mind this other point that you made. It was almost an aside, almost a throwaway in your premiere, your Amazon show, where you talked about having 5 keys between your knuckles, and one of them is the key to your next dreams. And I'm like wondering, what are your next dreams?
That's lovely. You've misremembered that joke. It's when you have the keys between your knuckles, and you hope that that one of them is the key to the robber's heart. But my next dreams, I think, are the same as they've always been. I want to solve a series of interesting problems until I die. I just want to be allowed to find something interesting and pursue it to its end. And that's my idea of happiness, I think, is interesting problems that are within my capacity to solve, or probably ideally slightly beyond my capacity to solve, so that I can keep reaching.
So is there an interesting problem on your horizon right now that's you see sort of bubbling, but it really hasn't reached you yet?
The ongoing problem of how to make a career in the arts work, particularly in the face of AI, where all of the jobs then will be, there's the same number of artists, an increasing number of artists as people come into the industry, and a shrinking number of jobs. How you make your own jobs, how we deal with the reality of the fact that the algorithms don't work the way they used to. Even the people who want to see what you're doing are not being served it in the way that they used to be. So how do you find your audience? How do you keep your audience? How do you end up in the same room as your audience? That is the ongoing problem to solve. And then I want to write a book. I have about 9 ideas. Which book will it be? Got to get the enough babysitting that I can sit down and write the book, and planning my tour for next year, and what will the show be for that. I have an idea of a show where I would be tied to a set of train tracks like a damsel in distress, which would be quite fun, but also then it would require me to build a train tracks set. Lots of ideas.
That's a brilliant idea.
Pitch my stupid action movie.
I love the idea that you've got a plan to go out again and to appear, because I think what you showed the audience is undervalued at this point in terms of the level of exposure and the feedback you've gotten as a result of it. I'll just be honest, like Greg and I love comedy, and the top comedian we talk most about is Dave Chappelle, he's problematic for a lot of people, but he's fucking funny. And when I watched what I watched with you, I was so moved in terms of the laughter and the drama that this might sound sycophantic, and maybe you are starting a cult, but the level of talent that's present is not to be overlooked. And so if I have 1 minute with you in this moment where we're on this podcast together, I want to remind you to hold your deepest faith in yourself. You have something that is extremely uncommon, and it's informed by such heart and intelligence and humor. You cannot let it lapse, and think big. Go for the gusto, because you've got that stuff. We've got the stuff. You got the stuff.
Thank you. 2 things. First of all, I don't know how to process that level of compliment. I'm Australian, you're American. We have a deep cultural divide when it comes to compliments. I had a friend when I was living in New York who's not just American, but also a musician. And he would put his hands on your face and stare deeply into your eyes and just be like, I love and value you so much as a friend. And I'd be like, I don't know, are we making out? What's happening? I don't know how to meet this level of energy in a way that doesn't end up with us fucking. I don't know how to handle it. But thank you for the compliment. I really appreciate it. Secondly, I was very lucky with that Amazon special. A famous author we met for my podcast, and we were chatting about the work that he was doing at the time, which was talking about a friend of his who had died, or a friend of his, he'd written it with a friend of his who had died. And so we were talking about legacy, and I said, my show that I've just done is about that, the solo show that I'm doing. And I sent him, I just recorded it as a podcast for the ABC, the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, the equivalent of the BBC. I don't know, NBC where you are, maybe, as a podcast for their thing. And he listened to it, and then he said, hey, would you mind me putting you forward to Amazon? So it was really the dream where I did not have to push myself forward. I didn't have to face the rejection. You know, I do
Nice.
have a lot of that kind of rejection sensitive thing where if someone doesn't text me back, I assume that they hate me forever. You know, if a partner is gone half an hour longer than they said they were going to be, I've already thrown all their stuff out the windows and burned it in a pile. Not quite that level, but you know, I do think, okay, so they've died, obviously, and I need to start planning the funeral. So that was kind of the dream, to have somebody just offer you on a plate the possibility of a much broader platform. He has since been cancelled. So I either have to redeem his career or build my own.
Find a new champion. Yeah. Well, like
find a new champion. Well, this is the problem, right? So much of
Right.
any success is reliant on gatekeepers, right?
Yeah. And so many things going through my head. But one of the things you were talking about earlier is this aspect of being a woman in a very patriarchal society, and how the thoughts aren't there. Like, oh, Alice has to walk to her car 2 blocks away at 1:30 in the morning. I, Greg, don't care. But Alice actually does care quite a bit. And here in the United States, what I've noticed with our youth is a lot of exploration of what gender is and sexuality. And, you know, and I'm loving it because it's really pushing out these boundaries. And I personally love it when elders get ruffled by things like that. Is that happening in Australia?
Oh, yes. These conversations are all very universal. It's one of the upsides and downsides of the internet is we get this kind of homogenization of a conversation. But yeah, my kind of approach to all of that stuff is, you know how you have people who are asexual and people who are like sex addicts? I feel like there's also a spectrum when it comes to not just where you are on the like horizontal spectrum between man and woman or outside of that, but also in terms of how much of a fuck you give, which is, you know, I'm very glad that there are people for whom it is like vitally important, life and death important, and that there's a conversation for them. For me, if you ask me to describe myself, unless I'm walking home at night on my own, woman wouldn't come into it in the top 10 things that I think are interesting about myself. You know, I in my show Twist, which is available on Go Faster Stripe, I said, I walk down the street thinking, does anyone know what it is to be a woman? Like, does anyone really know what it is to be a woman? Because I don't know what it is. What is? And then I see somebody who has eyelashes on the headlights of their car, and I think, okay, she knows. Like, she knows. And there's some people who are doing that. Like, look at Joe Rogan. He is being a man as hard as he can all the time. Like, that's his, like, that's top tier of who he thinks he is and what he thinks is important about him. And go with God. I'm so glad that people are having those conversations. I also would like to reserve the right for myself to just not give a fuck. And I resent it when I am forced to give a fuck. I resent it when I'm booked on an all-girls comedy night. I resent it when someone tells me women aren't funny. When I watched Monty Python when I was little, I did not think, oh, I got to be one of the booby women. I was like, I want to be like them. And it never occurred to me that there was anything about me that was different to them. I'm like, I'm middle class. I'm going to go to Cambridge. Like, this is, you know, I can be them. When I was told that I couldn't be them because I was a woman, that was really irritating because but that's not relevant. Like, why would that be relevant? Right. So I think I have what I would think of as low gender intensity. You know, if I've written articles and people comment, you know, oh, he's blah, 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 blah. I don't like his opinions. I'm like, okay, fine. I'll occasionally get YouTube comments where people are like, is it a man? Because I've got quite a strong jawline. But again, it doesn't bother me that those things, and I know for some people to be misgendered is really a painful experience. And for me, it's not. I have a twin brother. We were brought up very equally and fairly. We swapped clothes a lot when we were little. I want to never have to care about it, basically.
Well, I'm curious about what it is about you being on the railroad tracks as part of your next outing, so to speak, that is fascinating to you. What is it about that framework that you were about to tell us about?
Oh, see, I don't think that show will happen because I don't think I want to carry around a heavy set as well as my two children. I'm planning on doing the Adelaide Comedy Festival, Melbourne, and then Edinburgh. And then I run some writers' retreats in Switzerland. If you're interested in writing something, come write with me in Switzerland in the Swiss mountains for a week. It's very fun. We do it in September.
Be sure to give us the information on that. We'll put that in the show notes for people who do.
Oh, yeah. If you sign up at my Patreon, patreon.com/Alice Fraser, you can sign up for free. And then the information goes out there because, again, I just can't use the social media anymore. Like, it's terrible. But the thing about the train tracks idea is I like the turning around of the victim status and playing with the ways in which we have power and don't have power. I think one of the things that kind of has been in the public eye is what people call victim mentality, which is where people leverage oppressions in order to use the power that they have. And I think it has been sort of resoundingly rejected as a way of achieving materially what you want to achieve. It feels to some extent like trying to pull up a tree by the twigs at the end of the branches, rather than going into the core of the problem. More broadly, for example, online activism, talking about problems or complaining about things or expressing and articulating exactly in which ways things make you feel bad or come in your way or get in your way. That is work, and it is useful work, but it is the twigs work. It's not going to the heart of the problem. And I think a lot of people poured out a lot of energy and felt like they were doing a lot when in fact they were sort of functionally gilding a turd. They had not dealt with the mess at the center. They were hoping that they could kind of solve it from the margins coming in and using the power that they had, which was the power of language. But the thing is, the power of language is, it is powerful, but it's complicated. I was thinking about this. Again, these are all just ideas that are swirling around in my head. But I was talking to my friend Jared McKenna, who's a very Christian man. He does things like he bought a house for refugees to come as their first house so they could get, a rental record and things like that. Very much puts his money where his mouth is. He talks about what he thinks of as a joke in the Bible, which is the turn the other cheek thing, which he's saying, this was a context where the Romans were the oppressors. And if they hit you, you couldn't fight back. You couldn't speak out. There was nothing that you could do other than refuse to have the emotion that they wanted you to have. So instead of being like cowed and hurt, you'd turn the other cheek.
Go ahead.
And so for him, that moment of defiance, he understands that to be, and again, I'm not a Bible scholar. I read the book once, was like, cool, could do with a little bit of editing. But he treats it as, it's his Bible. So he understands that turning of the other cheek to be an act of defiance and functionally of comedy. Doing the unexpected and turning it around and going, yeah, come on. And I always thought that was a really interesting thing. So ideas about like power and oppression and the ways in which people,
Whoa.
No. Sorry, this is an AI camera.
Our director just
me.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
This is the problem. I gesture with my hands.
Perfect.
Power and oppression and the ways in which they're not always what they seem to be, I guess. Yeah.
That victim mentality is so interesting to me. Like, taking myself as an example and unpacking things. I'm divorced and I still have remnants of pain that come up for me regarding my ex. And we have 3 children. So their interaction happens. And it's problematic for me as an individual to hold I'm hurt in this moment with also it's not your responsibility. It's mine to take care of. Because I so want to put the responsibility on her shoulders. And then you take that mindset out into elements such as gender and race and economic well-being. And as you said, and as Marc knows from work we've done, it's a razor's edge to have a conversation about these areas and also recognize, okay, I'm a white privileged male. How do I engage in a conversation authentically?
Well, I think the problem with a lot of the discourse that has happened is fundamentally tied to a thing that America does particularly well, which is individualism, which is to blame the individual person as a representative of their class. And I would question that. I don't have a right to talk about it because I'm a white middle class man, whatever that happens to be, whatever that thing is that comes up a lot. Or you don't have a right to have this contribute to this conversation. Sometimes it's relevant and sometimes it's not. I think everyone has a right to have an opinion or a thought if you are dominating or talking over other people, or you're not engaging in good faith, or all of those things are relevant parts of the conversation. But again, I resent when somebody says that my gender is relevant when I don't think it is. Sometimes it is, and I still resent it. I'm like, well, I don't fucking want to have to get a taxi instead of walking home, but I will. But I do resent it. And then sometimes it is relevant, and I do have to apply it. So, like, oh yeah, okay, fine. I'm going to waste half of this gig money on the taxi. But yeah, sometimes it isn't, and sometimes I think power is so deeply contextual, and offense is deeply contextual. And for example, if I have a lover and the way that we say to each other, I love you, is you're a fat fuck, between us, that says I love you. It's understood to be I love you, and there is no offense. But we live now in a world where nothing is ever just in the room. Nothing, even with your lover, I could then go on Twitter and go, my abusive, blah, blah, blah. Like,
yeah.
You can't guarantee that anything is in the room anymore. And it has changed the way that we understand ourselves, because in that context, I can't feel safe necessarily. That the things that I don't think are relevant in that room suddenly become relevant in that room. And we all have that. We all have that with friends, particularly in Australia, where like bullying and joshing is a really a way that people bond. Mm-hmm. These are really complicated dynamics that have been flattened out. So I'll give you a scenario and I'll tell you how it would be characterized by the current sort of discourse or maybe recent milieu. And then I'll tell you how it's more complicated, and then we'll probably have to wrap up. I walk into a green room, say I'm 27, walk into a green room full of men. And someone goes, the entertainment's here. Are you going to do a lap dance?
Oof.
And I have a choice then, right? I have a choice to go, okay, They are putting me in my place. They're telling me I'm a woman and I'm less than them. They are sexualizing me. This is making me feel unsafe and unwelcome in my place of work. I am embarrassed. I should go to the person organizing the gig and I should make a protest. Or I can say, I'm one of the boys, like you couldn't afford me, mate. I know what you're getting paid for this gig. I can come in over the top. I play their game. I'm in that dynamic. Fundamentally, the combination of that happening 3 or 4 nights a week gets you down. And it does remind you that you're a woman, which you don't think is relevant, but they're reminding you is. At the same time, it is unfair to them to not also recognize that they are making an offer. And the offer is, hey, you want to play with us? You want to be one of us? You want to be one of the boys? Come on in. The water's fine. If you can speak this language with us, you are welcome to play with us. This is the language of the country I am walking into. It's their country. It is a boys' club. I'm walking in. They're telling me I can be welcome if I speak their language. And to tell them that that is oppressive when from their perspective, it is an invitation. It's obviously an invitation with conditions, but most invitations are, no shoes, no shirt, no service.
Mm-hmm.
It's unfair to them to say, it was a hostile workplace and you are a patriarchy and you're mean to women and you don't like women. That's not fair. It doesn't honor the dynamic, which, it was fucking gross and weird and made me feel a bit weird, but it was also welcoming. And I can also enter that space. And if I do enter that space in the way that they have allowed me to, they would defend me to the death. So it's not fair, it's not equal, it does have gross bits to it, but it's not the same thing as someone following you down an alleyway and creeping you out. Like, it's not the same, it's part of the same spectrum, but it's to pretend that it is only one thing flattens the reality of the human condition.
Yeah. You, in that little story, you beautifully unpacked something that's horribly complicated. And what I think just came to mind is like what those two scenarios, the alley and the green room, one of them actually is dangerous. The other one doesn't have to be if consciously.
No. And you can, again, it shouldn't be on me to tell them that they're, but
exactly.
Also, if you want to change the world, you got to do the fucking work, man. Someone's got to do the work.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why men, particularly comedic men who run in those circles, have to start to change the environment with each other. They have to do that labor. So someone like you doesn't have to contend with that. And I'll just say this again, the level at which you bring light into the ideas that you have is unbridled. It's like the age-old thing of pearls before swine. The level at which you are destined is to be so far beyond that with your creativity. And I know it's hard for you to receive.
He's holding your face between his hands.
No.
I'm not touching you, but I am advocating for you to be able to reach your fullest expression, because it's very rarely that we come across this kind of beauty. And I don't mean what you look like. And so as part of being on this ride with you, I want you to be able to walk away with a little bit of treasure about who you are as a human being and your insights and the way that you delivered such amazing ideas with drama and humor. And we have been privileged to have you. And we have one final question because we have a limited time. Greg, It's your job. Go for it.
So thank you very much, Alice. We'll have everything in the notes. And here's our final question. It's a tradition. Eminem or Foo Fighters?
Oh, I can't answer that. It depends on my mood. I can't do favorites. It depends on what mood I'm in. Sometimes I'm in an Eminem mood. Sometimes I'm in a Foo Fighters mood. I'm not trying to fence sit here, but yeah, no, it just vibes, man.
That's a perfect answer. Thank you so much for agreeing to ride with us on this, and wish you all the very best. It would be an honor if our paths cross again, Alice.
You guys should come on tea with Alice.
Love to.
We would love to.
Love to. All right. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Recording stopped.